Without further ado, I would like to call upon the person, an IITian who chose to serve the people, who stood all in the third rank, the UPSC examination, as I mentioned. He served as the Special Commissioner, Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation. He served in Visakhapatnam, also as Secretary, Municipal Administration and Development. He has been making waves through various initiatives and trend-setting initiatives that could ultimately lead to the growth and progress and the benefit of the citizens. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Navin Mittal.
The dignitaries on the dais and distinguished participants, very good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I must take this opportunity to congratulate the IndiGlobal media for organizing this two-day education festival, which has multiple tracks, the higher education track, the school track, and also includes skilling and sports also. Because it's our firm belief that, as the speakers before me have also said, that education has to be holistic. And only when we look at education from a holistic perspective, we can explore the contours of human potential. We are also going through, I would say, very, very transformative times in the field of education, especially in India. And there are, I would say, three things which are making these times very, very transformative. The first is the policy level changes which are happening. We got this new National Education Policy 2020. A lot of speakers have talked about it. The policy has come after a period of nearly 34 years, because the last policy was in 1986, and has gone through a huge amount of stakeholder analysis. And I must say that we have got a really brilliant policy which has the capacity to really bring in transformative changes in the higher education space and also in the school education space. It talks about multidisciplinarity of education. It talks about flexibility in terms of curriculum and courses. It talks about a totally new regulatory structure which will ensure that regulation is light but tight. It also brings in a totally new dimension of early childhood education in terms of school education, which was hitherto absent in India and only being handled through a very informal setup. And there was no formalized setup for early childhood education. There are multiple themes in it which are very, very important, and I would say which have been brilliantly put together. But what is required now is the right implementation, as Ronald was mentioning. The policy is great, but implementation is what will really make it help to transform Indian education system. And I think in the state of Telangana, we have really focused on bringing a lot of changes and a lot of reforms to ensure that our education system is in tune with times, and also ensure that our students not only are able to grab the opportunities which are available in the state, in our country, but also global opportunities. Some of the things have been talked about by Professor Limbadri. We brought in huge amount of flexibility in terms of student choices, so much so that I'll give you an example of a college, government degree college, Begumpet, which very recently, last month, got the highest ever NAAC score any government or private college got in the state of Telangana, which is 3.50. They just missed A++ by 0.01. 3 or 4 years back, the students there had only 10 or 11 course combination to choose from. This year, the students there have chosen more than 50 combinations. That is almost 5 times growth in student choices. And we have been able to do it just by rejigging the overall architecture of how do you choose. We didn't make any huge changes. We just made sure subjects are put in multiple buckets, and then student can choose any 3 of those buckets and any course within those buckets. So this resulted in multiple permutations and combinations, which within the existing setup brought in huge transformation in terms of student choices. We also reorganized the course curriculum in a big way, and it has already started giving very, very good results. And the fundamental philosophy behind that curriculum redesign was that extracurricular and co-curricular skills, which are really required for a student to do well when they get out of our campuses, those skills were actually left to the mercy of individual institutions without any core theme behind them, that each was left to fend off for themselves. How do they support their students in improving their placement potential of those institutions? But we brought in those skills right into the core of the curriculum as credit skills, credit programs. So almost every student in our graduation now learns computers, learns basic management skills, basic life skills. And we also redesigned the entire languages program. In fact, both myself and Professor Limbadri and also Professor Venkat Ramana, who will be joining us, who is the Vice Chairman of Council of Higher Education. When we look deep into the languages, we were teaching almost 20 credits of English language and 20 credits of second language to the students. But what we were teaching them was actually more of literature rather than communication and rather than language. And we worked on completely redesigning it so that it becomes more of a communication program and a language program which every student needs. We are not trying to reduce the importance of literature. Literature is also very important, but literature can be learnt as an optional. But what every student needs is more of basic language skills and basic communication skills. And this has really, really helped. I must say that we are seeing a tremendous improvement in the outcomes of our institutions, and our placements in almost every institutions have really, really gone up due to these changes which we have brought in. The second thing which is really driving this transformation in the education space in the country is this integration of technology now. Ronald talked about it, and other speakers also talked about it in a big way. And COVID has really, really accelerated this integration of technology. We were forced to go online when the pandemic hit us. There was no other option. But I think in this last 2.5 years, we have really learned as to what works and what doesn't work. And one of the prime learnings is that completely online is not the solution. But other part of it is also that completely physical learning is also not the way to move ahead in the times which we are in and the times we are going to be in. So it has to be a combination of the two. Because there's something very powerful which happens in a campus or in a class, which is that the learning which is happening is not just one way from the teacher to the student, but the teacher is also learning a lot from the students in terms of how they are responding and how they are imbibing the learnings, and also from the fact that they will be asking a lot of questions. So it's a two-way learning process which is happening. And also there is huge amount of peer-to-peer learning happens, which is absent in an online scenario. But then technology is also providing us huge amount of leeway in terms of personalizing education, which is not there when a teacher is teaching a class of 50 or 60 students. Mostly if we look at the pace of learning, a teacher would normally be going at the pace of an average student. So both the fast learner and the slow learner both are frustrated. Fast because he finds the whole thing boring, it's too slow for his or her pace, and a slow learner is not able to keep pace with it. And technology has now provided us a great tool in terms of personalizing learning. So content can be delivered to the student at his or her pace, his or her timing, and his or her place. So anywhere, any time, and at the pace at which the student wants to learn. Now the question is, how do we combine these two? We can't replace a teacher because teacher plays a hugely important role, and we can't forego the use of technology because that is also playing a very important role in learning levels. So the question is, how do we combine the two? And that is, I think, one of the biggest questions which we are going to be facing in next couple of years as to what is the right combination. And this combination varies from level of at what level you're talking about, at a primary school level or a middle school level or at a higher secondary or secondary level or at a graduation or in a technical education or in a management education. This would vary. This would not be constant. We don't have a formula that I have X% of online and 100 minus X% of physical. This combination is ideal. We can't find that X universally. It has to vary from level to level and also place to place. What works in Hyderabad may not work in a remote place where most of the students would be first generation learners, or it would vary dramatically in a place which is, let's say, a hilly place like Sirmaur. So we have to work out individual solutions as to how do we combine these two, the power of the teacher and power of the technology. And that's, I think, our biggest task moving forward. Technology has also helped us a lot in improving our administrative processes a lot. A lot of it has been talked about. Our DOST, the admission platform, is considered to be one of the best. And the reason is that it's a very seamless process where students across the state are able to utilize this system and get admission into an institution and a course of their choice. Earlier, a student had to physically go to every single institution, buy a prospectus, buy an application form, physically submit, wait for the call to come. The first list would be displayed. The college doesn't know which are the students who will join. The student doesn't know which institution he is going to get call from. So it was utterly confusing and hugely expensive for a student to get admission. But this has really transformed the way students are now taking admission. From the comfort of their home, almost 83% of our students did not move out of their home on their own mobile device or on their own device. They were able to access the system, authenticate themselves, and get admission. We also have biometric attendance in all the institutions, which has improved both faculty attendance as well as student attendance. And the reason why I'm saying that is that it is meaningless to talk about quality unless until a student comes to the campus. First of all, he or she has to come to the institution. If you are having a non-attendee student who's not coming, what is the change which you are going to bring in? So that has really helped in a big way. Most of our systems are now online. We have something called a university management system, which is now launched. We also have a college administration information management system, which is doing very well. And I can proudly say that each one of our government institutions in the state are now completely on e-office, including the commissionerate. And all our correspondence goes through digitally signed communication to the institution and back. We don't send any paper-based communication anymore to any institution. We have to increasingly leverage more and more technology to help improve our processes and also use in conjunction with the teacher to also improve our teaching and learning outcomes. And the third thing, which I would say is really bringing in this huge transformation which we are seeing, is I would say the economic progress which India is going through. Last quarter, we have overtaken UK as an economy, which was talked about a lot. This year, we'll be close to a $3.5 trillion economy. If we talk about a real GDP growth of 6 to 7%, add 5 to 6% inflation, and reduce the dollar appreciation, with roughly Indian economy is likely to grow at about 10-11% in dollar terms in next few years. And that's a huge, huge growth, which we'll be going through. And we have been going through for past few years also, except a short period of COVID. And what it is doing is, it is bringing in huge amount of opportunities into our country. In fact, today the scenario is that for a company to get a software engineer or a computer science engineer, it's becoming increasingly difficult, and the salary levels have really gone up. More and more companies are now moving to higher end of the spectrum in terms of the quality of work which is happening in India. Gone are the days when we were only a back office processing center or a basic software servicing entity. Every single day we find large corporates setting up their global R&D centers now in India. And that means that the chain is going up. So the opportunities outside are increasing and improving. But I think what is required is that we also produce students who, when they come out of our campuses, are able to utilize those opportunities optimally. And that is possible only if we ensure that the students are not only technically good in terms of what they're able to do, but also holistically better human beings who are able to work in the scenarios in which they're going to work. And the kind of fast changes which are happening in the world with every single day, with every single hour. And the mantra for that is that we not only have to make students learn, but also make them learn how to learn. It's not enough that you push out students from the campuses who are having a degree or who are having some right credits or right courses which help them to get the first job. But also you have to imbibe this important skill of constantly learning and updating themselves. And only if the students are able to constantly learn and constantly change themselves, constantly upskill their skills, reskill themselves, they'll be able to make use of the opportunities which are opening up and which are going to open up at an increasingly higher speed in the coming years. That is an important agenda for the entire education space. I also want to make one more point, is that in higher education space, we always talk about that we have to do with the students who are coming in from the school education. And the school education, we always talk about the fact that higher education space is too straitjacketed or too narrow. Help the individuals become well-rounded human beings. And I think that's why it's very, very important that both these systems talk to each other. And I'm happy that integrated session and a lot of this cross-learning will happen over these 2 days between school education as well as higher education, because we have to constantly talk to each other. We can't be working in silos that, oh, school education is only going to do this, higher education is only going to do this. There has to be a consistent effort to talk to each other and learn from each other and support each other. And that is only possible if we make use of such opportunities to increasingly talk to each other also. And then build networks and bonds to continue this conversation when such events also end and when we move back into our work. So that is, I would say, something which is going to be a big takeaway of this 2 days festival, but also this will also help you to build those bonds with each other. With these few words, I again thank IndiGlobal for organizing this 2-day festival and the events which are lined over these 2 days. Each one of those panel discussions and presentations have been thought about, and I'm sure that the deliberations in those panel discussions and those presentations would really give us good takeaways to take back with us, which we can implement during the course of our work as we move back into our own environments. And also, I take this opportunity to thank all the speakers who have taken their time to come to Hyderabad to participate here and to also support this shared learning which we are going to have over these 2 days, and to also everyone who has supported, especially the sponsors who have supported this event. And I'm sure that each one of us will have great learning experience over these 2 days. So my best wishes to all of you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your constant support and also being a mentor and a guide. We could come up with such a big congregation that will unfold. Next up, I would request Limbadre, sir, to present the memento to our program chair,